Any notable movers, guys? Like anything you want to touch on off the top?
Yeah, I think Power 25 is obviously a big topic of conversation every week, especially with us getting on and going through who teams beat and lost to and how it all kind of shakes up on the list. And actually, this week, just looking at it, 1 through 6 remains the same. With you got Brother Rice, Libertyville, McHenry, Manuka, Triad, and Lincoln Way West. The team that really solidified themselves the most, I felt like this past week, was Brother Rice. They're 19-1. They went 4-0 on the week. They did have some close games, like they had a 5-4 battle against Joliet Catholic. But they also knocked off top 10 Lincoln Way East 4-0. They took down Andrean out of Indiana 5-3, and then had a tough game against Evergreen Park. Evergreen Park's played a couple teams tough so far this year, but they beat them 2-1. At the top there, Gavin, I think that's kind of the most notable thing going on, is Brother Rice just kind of solidifying themselves. And they've got a tough CCL Blue schedule coming up, but Libertyville went 2-1 on the week. They remain at 18 and well, I guess they moved to 18-2 on the year, but remain at number 2 for us. And then we got Edwardsville kind of bumping up a spot here. We talked about it briefly last week with Edwardsville and Pravi, how they have like a few more losses than a lot of these other teams, especially towards the top of the Power 25. But Edwardsville went to the NHSI. They played some of the top teams in the country, and to me, that's only going to help their cause here as they move down the stretch and into May and into the playoff season. And they come back home into Illinois. What do? They go 3-0. They're 11-6 now, and I wanted to look. So they beat Collinsville in 2 games by a total of 14-1. And then they took down Columbia 4-1 as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the Tigers do kind of moving forward, but I feel really good about them. Just the eye test that we saw, they got so many arms. They got a lot more to tap into there just as a team. So those were 2 of my main takeaways here from the Power 25.
Yeah, and then a couple new teams to the Power 25 this week. St. Joe Ogden is 20-2, and West Aurora is 15-2. On the year, St. Joe Ogden is 20-2. They're 8-0 in conference. They are outscoring teams 206-47. They're currently on a 14-game win streak, and they are coming off a 5-0 week where they outscore teams 37-8. So their offense is rolling, and I know they have some arms that we'd like to. This again, obviously, we're recording here on Monday. This comes out on Wednesday. I'm going to see St. Joe Ogden tonight, so we'll see some firsthand action of them. And then kind of moving down here, Father McGivney, they jump up 2 spots to number 10 after a 4-0 week. They are now 20-2 on the year, and they beat Belleville East, who is a 4A program, last week. But they're obviously a 1A team and one that we really like. I mean, their offense is really good. They have some depth on the mound, too. So good stuff there from Father McGivney.
Yeah, and then St. Lawrence, they're knocking on the door of the top 10 here. They're up 3 spots to number 11. They're 16-3 on the year, but they had a really good win over the number 1 3A team in Indiana, 5-0 over Hanover Central. So they're a team to watch really closely here, especially as they get into their CCL Blue play. And then Fremd, they're up 3 spots as well to number 12. They're still undefeated. They're 15-0-1. And they had a 5-0 week, so they just continue to roll. And then Lamont, they just keep adding to their win column. They're up 2 spots to number 14. They went 4-0 on the week, so 14-3-1 on the year for them. And yeah.
Yeah, and then DePaul College Prep is now up to number 20. They just keep winning. Didn't get a ton of games under their belt last week, just 2-0 on the week, but they're 18-2, but they get it right into the meat of their CCL Blue play this week. This airs on Wednesday, but on Monday and Tuesday, so today and tomorrow, they play Pravi, and then they get St. Ignatius later in the week. So going to find out a lot about DePaul College Prep in these coming weeks, as really with all these CCL Blue teams as they get into conference play.
And we only choose 25 teams. It's a Power 25, so you have to cut it off. And with that, I mean, there's a lot of good teams that we're looking at that we're kind of weighing every single week. Who should get in? Who kind of gets bumped out? Like, unfortunately, this week, Andrew, they went 1-2. They're at 15-4 on the year. Like, still really like them, but they had to get bumped out of the Power 25, and Hampshire was the same way. that Fox Valley's starting to beat up on each other a little bit. Like Prairie Ridge went 2-2 last week, but they hung in and they're still at 23 on our list. But Hampshire had to bump out. They were 24. They went 2-2. They're 16-6 on the year. They're still a team we really like. But then you look down the list, like Plainfield Central was a team that we talked on. Like they're 17-3, went 4-0 on the week. I think they're super interesting. Nashville down in Southern Illinois, they're 18-0. They went 3-0 on the week and have an arm in Lucas Dunn that I know we really like. Eureka 20-2. I know they've had a really good year a couple years back, Gavin. They've got a couple guys doing it at the college level now as well. But Tremont's starting to play some better baseball. They're 19-4 coming off a 4-0 week. You're talking Fox Valley here and Cary Grove. 3-0 week for them, including a win over Prairie Ridge. They're 12-6. Monticello, who's got Ike Young, one of the top senior arms in the state, they are now sitting at 17-3. Sacred Heart Griffin is 16-4. Ottawa Marquette is 17-2. You got T-Town Teutopolis 17-2, and they're actually coming off a week where they went 3-1, so they were only coming into this week with only one loss. East Peoria and Morton right there in your backyard, Gavin, both are having good years. 15-4 for East Peoria, and Morton's 15-5. Normal U-High's getting it going. They're 16-4. I know Belleville East had it going. They lost 2 games this past week, but they're 16-7. Evergreen Park's played a lot of close games. They're 15-6. Like the list goes on. At Caneland, they've got a freshman we're super high on, Cannon Baxley. They're 13-4 on the year. They went 4-0 on the week. So like, that's honestly just to name a few. Like Dunlap's 15-5 as well, right there in that Morton East Peoria mix. Like that's a really good area right now with a lot of good high school teams. And I'm sure there's some I'm missing. So if I missed any you guys want to mention, feel free.
No, with that, Drew, like you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but just kind of pulling it off the cuff here. Like I feel like I can't remember a time the past few years since I've been doing this where the records there have been so many good records in that, our bubble team section where there's only 4 or 5 losses or less. Like it's pretty impressive. Like just looking at these records and going through it on Sundays and stuff, like it's awesome to see.
I agree. I will say, like, you always are going to have some teams just missing the cut that have great records that, look incredible. But the amount of them, yeah, I don't remember having this many, because I'm going down the list. Like we have Hersey in the mix. They're 15-3-1, and they have 2 Division I arms leading the way that are seniors, in Keegan Luxem, and Lincoln Cosero. And then, Rochester's 15-5. Warren Township is 14-5. So it's, Palatine is 15-6. They've got Toby Peterson on the mound, a Kentucky left-hander that's a senior, kind of leading the way. So yeah, Gab, I think I could talk for hours on these teams. Yeah. Mount Zion's another kind of sneaky team down there that's 13-4. And which is beautiful, like with what we do, because there's always just good teams we need to continue to knock off the list. Like at least for me, we want to see as many of the good top players as we can throughout the spring and get all of our follows. But like, we're also trying to check off the list. Like, have we seen this team? Have we seen this? And we're trying to see as many teams as we possibly can, especially as many good teams as we possibly can.